Hello, everybody, and welcome to Take 2 of the No Shots Fired podcast, episode 36. Tales from the Under, a title that will not make sense now because we're not going to talk about Undertale at all, but that's fine. I am joined, as always, by my compatriot Junkblade. Junkblade, how are you doing?
Good, and I just find it amusing that if this keeps up, pretty soon I'll have more episodes of my name than Valen will.
Valen joining us in his feline form today. Valen, how are you doing? Excellent, just like a cat. Okay.
Just like a cat.
No, hopefully I feel like I should start streaming more often, so that when I catch Valen on his vague availability, we've got record of him on here. I think would be worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
But things for another time.
Maybe we'll have to start doing mini recordings and then have him do cameos like
yes.
Stan Lee.
Yeah. Just kind of listen and try to, we'll leave 10-second spaces for him to talk or something. But let's see. This week, continuing conversation on the new Pokemon game that I've continued to play. And then Junkblade's been diving pretty deep into Rogue Legacy lately, if I'm correct in that.
You are correct in that.
All right. Then we got, as always, our D&D update. No, we still don't have any D&D update for the big game, but Junkblade, as always, is going to have some tasty morsels for us. And then we're going to talk about the PlayStation Classic lineup, and get into that whole thing as the reviews of that are coming out that I saw today.
Alright, I have not actually seen the lineup myself.
Okay.
I've heard a little bit about what's on there, but we'll have to get into it a bit more in depth once the topic comes up.
Yes. So for Pokemon, I played a little bit more during the Thanksgiving time, and I'm still really enjoying it. I just it's a streamlined experience that's just going really perfectly. I'm just laying in bed for a little while, or I'm sitting watching sports on the TV, and just to have that to do, the battling is still fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the catching mechanic, I'm still enjoying that quite a bit, despite its simplified nature. I was trying to think. Here the battles aren't random. You see the Pokemon kind of going throughout the world in the tall grass or flying around and stuff, and that's actually something I didn't think would make a big difference, but seeing them in the world kind of helps. I don't know, just give it that extra bit of interest for me, and especially since they have they're scaling the size, so an Onix or a Snorlax is just towering over everything.
Yeah.
Whereas a Rattata or a Pidgey is just this tiny bird or rat going around.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of detail really kind of is something I've appreciated for sure. And I don't know if I had this last time we talked, but I was a sucker and bought the Pokeball controller thing.
Okay.
Which I'm showing on the camera now, and it's just the cutest goddamn little ball.
That is pretty cute.
And it's got a little joystick in the center of it, and then one button on top here. And it'll vibrate, it'll make the Pokemon noises. There's a little speaker in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's just and you make a throwing motion to catch the Pokemon with it. It's a cute little thing that's, it probably wasn't worth $50, but I'm a sucker, so that's my cross to bear. I think I'm 5 badges in at the moment.
Nice.
But yeah, so really enjoying it. And I'm excited to see where they go from here, to see what stuff they keep from this kind of experiment. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, to see the quote-unquote mainline Pokemon games to kind of alternate with these more simplified experiences. To be honest, because I think it's almost a good palate cleanser sort of thing. from the more intense. And, Pokemon's not difficult, but there is, these days there's a lot of systems that they've added that can get a little overwhelming, or just something you don't immediately want to dive back into, right? So still really enjoying it. I did, although, I did pick up Dragon Ball Fighter Z today.
How is that?
I haven't gotten to play it yet.
Okay.
But
I have heard very good things about it. There are a lot of people who like the game and the new character it introduces.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious. And then I've got my, despite your scoffing, my Season 2 of Dragon Ball Z Kai. So,
see, that's just because I love Dragon Ball, the abridged series, so much that I just can't go back to the original now. But no, I have no problem with anyone who likes Dragon Ball Z.
So yeah, I don't know, I'm enjoying that. I'm gonna dive back into that. But that's mainly what I've been playing. I don't think I've got much else that is interesting to talk about, at least. So let's get into Rogue Legacy for you.
Well, I was actually going to ask before we move on. Two things before we move on. First, update on acquiring the Switch. Friend of mine who has owed me money for a while is going to be paying me back soon.
Excellent.
Gonna get the first of several payments Friday, hopefully. And then somebody else I know is interested in buying some Warhammer stuff that I no longer want.
Ooh, okay.
And together that amount should get me very close.
Excellent. Awesome.
So
okay.
That's a Switch update. And the thing I wanted to ask you is, Nintendo has mentioned they're doing like a mainline Pokemon game as well for the Switch.
Yes.
And I was curious, what would you want to be in there or not be in there?
That's a good question, because I didn't think I would enjoy Let's Go as much as I have. So I was kind of ready to just say, oh, this was an interesting experience, but let's go back to the full-fledged series. But I think this catching mechanic, I think if they flesh it out a little bit more, whether it's you battle a little bit and then the catching is still this motion, kind of aiming the circle type thing, that might be a good way to do it. But then again, that might become tedious if you have to do, not only fight it to get it down, but then also have to do this other kind of skill-based thing to even throw the Pokeball. Not that it's super difficult, but I mean, even just kind of the graphical update, I think the art style has just transferred so well from the mobile games to the first Switch game that I think continuing in this vein of just colorful and colorful and cartoonish, like the Pokemon look fantastic, and so that's one big question answered for me. I don't know. I almost just kind of want to see because usually they'll try to come up with some goofy thing to take advantage of some weird aspect of the system. But But I kind of put, they've done such a good job with this even simplified version. I'm kind of just ready to say, give me what you got, until they prove me wrong, sort of thing. But I'd be interested. I'll be interested to see where they go in terms of like what the region does. I enjoyed the kind of the island feel, going from island to island, and they weren't necessarily gyms in Sun and Moon. It was kind of these trial things, which was...
Yeah, I'm a decent way through Sun and Moon. It's just a game I tend to like put down and pick back up every once in a while, rather than go through all at once.
Yeah, but that I thought that was kind of a cool shift from the gyms necessarily. Like, it still kind of gave you the same, still battles and stuff, but it wasn't quite as stagnant as the gym design has become over the years. But which starter did you pick first in Sun or Moon?
Makes sense. All right, so on to Rogue Legacy.
No, you answer me. Which starter did you pick, Drumblade?
Oh, for Sun and Moon?
Yes.
I didn't actually hear you ask that, sorry.
That's all right.
I honestly don't remember. I think what it was is I picked a starter my friend wanted to trade to them.
Ah, okay.
And because my team right now consists of Scizor, Kabutops, Kabutops, Melodic, not Garchomp, because he's the third evolution, but the second one in that line, Gabite, I think.
Yeah, Gabite, yeah.
Lapras, and there's one more that I can't remember offhand.
Okay.
Well,
Popplio is the correct answer to that question.
I think that is the one I chose that my friend wanted.
Rowlet is also an acceptable answer, but Popplio's the best. Okay. Okay, we can move on now.
All right. Rogue Legacy.
Yes.
It is, in my opinion, a very fun game. I am on New Game Plus, and I am well into that now.
Okay.
I just resumed an old save I had because I was like, hey, I haven't played enough of a game to really talk about in the stream. Let's play this. And
because that came out a number of years ago now, right?
I think 2012 or so?
Oh, Lord, that's more than I thought. Might be right, though.
2013.
Oh, that's 5 years. Okay.
All right. So
what does New Game Plus? What's the difference between?
Just a little bit more difficulty, and you can find some items that you can't find in the regular.
Okay.
In the first run through.
Okay.
And say hello to our good friend Gnomish Wonder.
Hello. Welcome.
So, Rogue Legacy I enjoy for being. We have not talked about the make your own Pokemon.
No, we did not complete that assignment yet. No,
we did not complete that assignment, but we shall discuss it at the end of the video about just some little ideas we have.
Yes.
Right now we're just going over Rogue Legacy real quick. Rogue Legacy is another of those games where I like that they did their own kind of thing. The game is you choose a character and then one of their descendants, and so on and so forth, and run them through the dungeon until you either complete the dungeon or they die.
Yes.
Usually, 99.9% of the time, they're going to die. And once they die, everything they collected in the dungeon gets passed on to their descendants. So all the gold, all the upgrades, anything they find.
Okay.
And then you spend the gold to buy further upgrades, and any gold you haven't spent goes to the gatekeeper before you go into the dungeon.
Oh,
so,
okay, gotcha.
So it's use it or lose it, basically. The thing that I find neat about this game and makes it stand out to me is that the dungeon is randomly generated. So
each time, right?
Yeah, every single time you go in, it's a new dungeon. Beyond the fact that the castle portion is always in the middle, the Maya is what it's called, is always at the top. The Land of Darkness is always at the bottom. And the Forest Abkhazia is always to the right.
Okay.
Each of your descendants will have their own class and special traits, and these traits can be good or they can be bad. So every once in a while, you'll get a lineup of descendants that is just completely worthless, and you'll just pick one, send them in to die immediately, and get a redo, basically.
Now, is there like a generally accepted build that's kind of either the easier or the stronger kind of things you're looking for, or?
It really depends on your playstyle. I've noticed that certain classes' abilities have diminishing returns the further you get into the game.
Okay.
Like, the ninja deals more damage but can't critical hit, which is good at the start of the game, but later on, when you have a very high chance of critical hitting enemies, the ability becomes much less useful.
Okay. But you can you can do like a run with that to kind of like rack up gold or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Paladin is my favorite, both because I just like playing Paladins and things, and because it is the all-around class. It's got good attack, good health, good magic, etc.
Okay.
It doesn't have any particular weakness.
Gotcha.
I think the run where what was my best run was with an assassin, which is low health, low magic, not as much damage, but increases your chance to critical hit. And you can get items that boost on top of that to make it hurt even more. So I had like a 75% chance of critting with every hit, and then it dealt like 700 damage, which killed pretty much anything it touched.
That's pretty good.
But you would occasionally get stream of enemies that you just hit for regular damage, and you're like, well, crap. Right now I'm level 410.
Oh.
And the max level is 507 or something like that.
Okay.
I'm deliberately trying to max my character out just to say I did.
Yeah.
At this point, the other thing with New Game Plus, there are special versions of the bosses that you have to beat in order to get the true ending thing, which the special versions of the bosses are a pain in the butt for me.
Okay. Making you earn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about the game that I could try and answer?
Well, do you, so is this, do you like kind of the roguelike genre in general, or is there something about Rogue Legacy in particular that's kind of drawn you in compared to other?
I like that you can actually keep upgrades and such, whereas the main other roguelike I can think of that I've played, which was 20XX, is you don't keep anything you find.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was going to ask, like, because Spelunky was a very popular...
I would actually like to give Spelunky a try, because it has a very similar art style, and looks like it'd be similarly fun.
I played that a little bit. I have not gotten too hooked on the roguelike genre yet, but Spelunky was the one I definitely enjoyed the most. Like, the music was fantastic, like you said, the looks are very good. And it just had a kind of a fun progression style that kind of at least made me want to, keep trying for a good number of hours. But yeah, that it does. I think one of the problems I have, like you said, is that a lot of these you don't get to keep really anything. Which is I mean, the idea is that you gain skill so that you're better next time, just inherently. But that's not always enough to keep me going, at least. So
yeah.
Okay. How long did it take you to beat it the first time?
I honestly don't remember. It's been so long.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is it? Is this on Steam?
It is on Steam.
What's your hour count at here?
73, because I've beaten it a few times.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's with starting from the very beginning.
Uh-huh. How many generations, like what's
the count for my level 410 thing?
Or like how many would you say it would take on average to beat the game for, moderately skilled play sort of thing?
Probably a couple of dozen.
Okay, wow. There's
an achievement for beating the game with only 15, which that's a tall order.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone speedrun this game?
Oh, I'm sure there has. I just haven't taken a look because I don't want to get depressed.
That's fair. I'd be curious what people speedrun everything. Let's see.
Let's see. Rogue Legacy any percent speedrun.
13 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, then there's one in 10 minutes.
12 minutes, 13 seconds, 37 milliseconds.
Oh, of course, someone that's done it at a GDQ.
On the topic of speedruns, for tool-assisted speedruns, the record for Mario 3 is now 2 seconds.
Some of the stuff they've kind of mapped out is pretty cool on some of that tool-assisted stuff, but that's a little silly. I want to see a couple of cool jumps, not just 2 seconds.
Well, it's apparently a glitch with the game where basically if you press the A button 6,000 times in the span of 2 seconds, it just goes straight to the end screen.
Okay, that's fair. There is if Super Mario World has one that people actually can do where they do, like, it's worth looking up. I mean, I'll try to find a link and send it to you. But there's a certain, like, you kill enemies in a certain way, and then you can get to the warp to the credits in like a minute and a half or something.
Interesting.
It's crazy. Actually, if I can post that in the chat, that'd be useful since someone is watching. World credits warp. Like 45 seconds.
Wow.
42. Sorry, right. 42 seconds.
So, just out of curiosity, I am going to check and see how many generations that I have in Rogue Legacy while we move on to other topics.
Gotcha.
Because this is going to take a while.
Okay, so I posted that in the chat, so we could peruse at our leisure, but, so do you want to get into what D&D adventures you've been up to lately, or should we go to the PlayStation topic?
Let's do the PlayStation topic for now.
Okay, so the PlayStation Classic is coming out next week, I think, in the similar vein to the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic, which I have here as well, but it's hooked up.
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of mini consoles preloaded with 20 to 30 games. Cool, and the cool aspect, besides it's a cool little console you put on your desk, is that it gives you an opportunity to play these games on, modern TVs, because a lot of these consoles were designed for CRT televisions, so plugging them into HD TVs these days not only makes it look kind of like garbage, but it also has a lot of lag inherent with the controller inputs because they're just not designed for newer TVs. So
makes sense. Being
able to play these games and not have what I have, which is what feels like a 200-pound TV that you have to lug around, is a bonus. But the fact that these are kind of static boxes means they're really kind of reliant on what games they come with. Now, I guess both the Nintendo ones that have come out are pretty easily hackable into adding, whatever you want, but I have not. I'm not one who usually goes through that level of effort for it.
Makes sense.
So the PlayStation Classic is 20 games. It's $100, which is a little more expensive than the NES one was $60. I think the Super Nintendo one was $80. And the game list is just it's kind of garbage, which I'm pretty surprised about, because it just feels like they didn't put much effort into it. Now, granted,
can you link me the game list real quick?
I can. Now, granted, I'm not a huge PlayStation person. I'll put it in the Twitch chat as well.
Also, to answer the earlier question of how many generations my current run has,
yes.
I am at exactly 200.
Okay. Bicentennial. Congratulations.
Okay, so let's see. Twisted Metal makes sense. Rainbow Six. Tekken 3.
So
Persona makes sense. Resident Evil,
yes.
Rayman, Oddworld, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII, Grand Theft Auto. But like some of these I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Wild Arms, Siphon Filter, Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Mr. Driller, Jumping Flash, Intelligent Cube with a Q,
Yes.
Destruction Derby, Cool Borders 2, which I assume is either a surfboard or snowboard game.
Snowboarding, yeah.
And Battle Arena Toshinden.
Yeah, Battle Arena Toshinden's a fighting game. Destruction Derby's just, I don't know
exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. Intelligent Cube's a puzzle game. Jumping Flash is like a first-person, you're a robot rabbit jumping around doing stuff. Mr. Driller, I don't remember. Ridge Racer is a racing game. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo is a puzzle game with Street Fighter characters. It's actually supposed to be pretty good.
Okay.
Siphon Filter is either a third or first-person shooter. And Wild Arms is an RPG, I believe. So, I just... Tekken 3, right? Fighting game. A lot of people know about it. It's the European version, which if you know about video standards, means it runs at 50 hertz instead of 60 hertz.
Okay.
So it's just, like, slower. And, like, for a fighting game, that's not great.
Yeah.
Because, like, the feel is kind of the whole thing. The whole ball game with a fighting game. And actually, a number of these games are the European versions. And I cannot, for the life of me, think why.
All right, so first question.
Yes.
Where is Suikoden 2?
So, yeah, okay. So let's get into the real problem, which is some of the, like, this list is garbo. Okay? Let's
there's a lot of... I get about half of these.
Yeah.
Half of these I can understand.
All right, well, I'll go in order here. Battle Arena Toshinden, I guess, was like the first, one of the launch titles, like one of the big, splash games at the start. I get that. One, just make it the North American version, you goofballs. Cool Borders 2, it's a snowboarding game, no one gives a shit. Okay?
Yeah.
Destruction Derby, there are so many other racing games, get it out of there.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, keep.
Yeah, classic.
Grand Theft Auto, I don't give two shits about, but...
Grand Theft Auto, yeah, I feel the same way personally, but I understand why it's on there.
Yeah, I get that. So we're at 3 that we get. Intelligent Cube. Jumping Flash, I saw a video of it, and I want to play it, so I'm going to keep it on there.
Okay,
but I was surprised. Metal Gear Solid, another game I don't care about, but you got to have that.
Yeah.
Mr. Driller, no. Oddworld, I never... Is that a platformer?
I actually have never played Abe's Odyssey. I've played Stranger's Wrath, which is another of those games that I've started and need to actually beat one day.
Okay.
And I find that one fun, but it's not a PlayStation game.
Right. We're cutting it because Rayman's right below it. Rayman you keep. Resident Evil you keep.
Yeah.
Persona I think is a cool... That's like... Alright, so... Disclosure here, I pre-ordered this stupid thing, and Persona's kind of the only thing keeping it in... keeping my pre-order... in place right now. Yeah. Ridge Racer, Ridge Racer is kind of one of the more famous racing series.
That's fair. I personally don't give a crap.
I mean,
never even heard of it.
I think you could also argue that Wipeout should be there ahead of Ridge Racer, but that's a discussion. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, I actually have heard quite a bit about that over the years for some reason. So people seem to enjoy that quite a bit. Siphon Filter, no. Tekken 3, sure. Rainbow Six, so the other problem with this is that the controllers they're including in this package are not the DualShock controllers.
Okay.
So I don't want to play an FPS with a D-pad.
Fair.
So I'm cutting that one. And then Twisted Metal and Wild Arms are fine, although I think you put Twisted Metal 2 on there, not the first one. Okay. So that's 13 of the 20 games that we're okay with.
Okay.
Let's start listing ones that they left off for God knows why.
Suikoden 2 is the first one.
Okay. Suikoden 2, first one, crazy RPG. So many
'Cause
characters.
it's a very well-known one. I actually don't know anyone who's mentioned Suikoden 1 in like the same breath,
Okay.
so I don't know what the difference is between the first and the second. I don't think I've ever played the first one.
Yeah.
And hopefully my cousin will get me Suikoden 2 so I can play that.
There you go. So
Final Fantasy
Tactics. Yeah, tactics, definitely. I would argue I would have argued that you need to have all 3 numbered Final Fantasies on this thing. 7, 8, 9. You could cut 8 and I wouldn't care. But
yeah, I definitely am not in favor of putting 8 on there.
I mean, but I mean, it's not like, don't try to tell me you're limited by space. And you already went through the trouble of getting 7 from Squaresoft. Don't tell me they were going to be withholding on 8 and 9.
And you could fit more than 20 games on here.
Well,
for the sake of fitting in some more that are important, like Final Fantasy 9. Heck, even Final Fantasy 6, even though it's like a remake of a.
That'd probably be a tougher one to get with Nintendo holding some of the strings there, I assume. But okay,
fair.
Tomb Raider, pretty popular series.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be found. Crash Bandicoot, nowhere to be found.
Crash Bandicoot.
I mean, I know they just released those re-releases, but you're going to tell me that that wouldn't make people more interested in playing like the original game?
Yeah.
And like, no one is going to look at Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation Classic and go, "Oh, I don't need to play those up-resed versions." Spyro, also not there. Probably the biggest one for me, and one that I just can't even think of why it's not on there, is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
I didn't actually know that was a PlayStation game. Yeah, why isn't that on there? There's so many where it's just like
on many people's like top 10 games of all time.
Why? It's almost like they didn't even try.
That's my problem. Ape Escape, also a popular one, but that requires the dual analog sticks, so that's a no-go. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 would have been much better than Cool Borders 2.
Yeah. Is this like a licensing issue?
That's what people were saying, but I just kind of don't. I'm uninterested in that argument because Sony's a pretty big company. Like, you're not going to tell me they can't get this crap done if they actually cared.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel. It's not like, one of the indie companies from one of the games we like is trying to put this together. It's freaking Sony.
Yeah. So what did I say? So we have like 7 games to put on this thing. I think if you put Final Fantasy Tactics, Symphony of the Night, Suikoden 2, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, and Spyro. How much more interesting is that package?
That pack is already more interesting, and we didn't even use another numbered Final Fantasy in it.
No, exactly. We couldn't even fit it.
We didn't even have to copy ourselves, really, because Final Fantasy Tactics is not really a Final Fantasy game.
It's a totally different style of game. So kind of my hot take from this is that this kind of shows something that I've always kind of believed, which is that Sony just is not the overall game company that Nintendo is, and I don't think they ever will be. Because you look at the games that Nintendo, and we talk about licensing and how that was probably an issue. Well, Nintendo, for good or bad, a lot of the must-have games on their systems are their games.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do they make cool consoles, but they make the games themselves to back that up. And it's just something that Sony's never done, and probably a reason that I don't have. And I've owned every Sony console from the first PlayStation, but I just don't feel any real connection to the games on those systems or the series, even really. And I know that's a personal thing. Sony's obviously, the PlayStation is extremely popular. It's the number one console in the world for a reason. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this kind of shows that in terms of overall, like you look at the lineups of the NES and the Super Nintendo Classic, I mean, they're fantastic.
They blow this out of the water.
Yeah, like Super Nintendo, I think the only one I'm bummed about is Chrono Trigger not being on there, but they still had Final Fantasy VI, they had Super Mario RPG, they had Earthbound. I mean, and Super Mario RPG is a Square game. They were able to get that, and so it just kind of bums me out that they, are clearly hopping on the classic console trend, which is fine. I think they should do it because these are, I think they're fun things. But it just like we said before, it just kind of smacks of just a lack of caring that I wouldn't have expected after seeing the success of these other consoles. Like you've got the blueprint for how to do it, and just
Nintendo made the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Sony did the DC.
And it's a similar thing. It feels like a kind of an arrogance creeping back into the company because there was a recent announcement that Sony's not going to be at E3 next year, and the spin I've seen is that that Sony's big enough they don't have to go to E3, and I'm just like that sucks. It's like E3, it's just a really fun event for me because you've got this week, or at least a few days in a row where people are announcing new games. Everyone's kind of doing it at the same time, and everyone's like, oh, well, they can do their own thing and just get all the attention to themselves. I'm like, that, I don't, fuck off, Sony.
Yeah.
and part of me thinks it's because they've got, nothing to talk about next year. Because I bet they're gearing up for the PlayStation 5, but because like their last couple conferences have been like 3-4, like their last one was 4 games that they talked about for like 15 minutes each, and it's just like, oh god, this is so just full of itself and tedious. And then previous years, everyone's gone crazy over the games that have been announced, but you think about those games, there was one year that they announced the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shenmue 3, and The Last Guardian, and one of those games has come out.
I'm assuming it was The Last Guardian, because I would have heard about Shenmue 3.
Yeah, to tepid, and Shenmue 3 was a Kickstarter, so I'm not even sure I'm going to count that. But people just totally lost their shit over this press conference, and this was a couple years ago now, and I'm like, well, where's the games? It's like
theoretically, Final Fantasy VII should be out next year.
I mean,
but
they were supposed to be doing it in parts, so you'd think, this end of this year, early next year should have been the first part. But I mean, it's from reports we've heard, it's in dire straits. And Shenmue 3, who knows? I never played the Shenmue.
Shenmue 3, the estimated delivery for a digital copy for PC or PS4 was freaking December of 2017.
Holy shit, are you serious?
They're almost 2 years overdue. Yeah, I just looked up the Kickstarter. It says,
oh my god, that means
$29 or more, a digital copy of Shenmue 3 for PC or PS4.
That means that was E3 2016 probably, so that's, 2-3 years ago now. So it's just, I don't know. It's just something to kind of, let's say the PlayStation Classic on top of this E3 news has soured me a bit on Sony of late, and it's just kind of annoying me.
Well, I've noticed a trend happening with several companies that is like this, where they just start thinking they're too big to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's never the case.
I say, you'd think Sony would have a bit longer memory, because they literally just did this the previous console generation, because they totally biffed the PlayStation 3. They priced it way too high. There was a famous quote where someone asked about the high price, and the head executives like, oh, people will get a second job to get this console. And it's just like,
no,
they will not.
No, they will not.
So it's just, it feels like they're kind of falling back into those old habits, and I don't know if Microsoft's in a position to make them feel the hurt on that, which I think is only going to get, if that goes not punished, but if there's no consequences for this attitude, it's only going to get worse, I think. And I think it's going to be consumers that suffer.
Yeah. And in regards to Microsoft trying to basically bury Sony, I heard a lot of people saying that they could have done it with the Xbox One, but they just screwed up on so many things on the initial release that...
Yep. They did the Sony thing from the previous generation.
They did the Sony thing with the Xbox One, and they had the chance to basically bury Sony, and because they had They got greedy. Yeah. It didn't work.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm a moron because I've still got this stupid PlayStation Classic pre-order because I'm an idiot. But that doesn't mean I'm totally wrong about this. But I just didn't like, because I saw a lot of outlets I watch or listen to or read about kind of trying to spin this as like a positive for Sony, and I think just admitting that they're in a place of power where they're able to do this doesn't preclude the fact that it's lame to do it, right?
No,
like just because you can, and it may it may end up business wise helping them in terms of bottom line or market share or whatever. But as a video game fan, like I'm going to remember how lame they were in who knows what this could do to E3 as a whole, because Sony's a huge part of that. So.
And on that general topic, there's another company I want to talk about after the stream is over because it doesn't really have anything to do with video games.
All right, we can do that. Secret topics, people. You're going to have to pay us extra to get access to those conversations.
It's Wizards of the Coast, people.
Okay, well, Junkblade gave it away. But, okay, so I think I've got a little time left to cancel this pre-order if I feel like it. I think it might be smart because I don't like the reviews coming out lately are not positive, and there's just the overall buzz seems pretty tepid to negative on this item. So I'm wondering how long it'll be till it's $60 or something.
Well, I suppose my question would be, how many of these games do you not have?
Actually, I say for that's kind of the thing for PlayStation. My collection is not as voluminous as it is on other systems. Like I've got, for some reason, I think I have Cool Borders 2. I have Final Fantasy 7. I have Metal Gear Solid. And that's it. Now the games that this thing would be interesting for, or that I would want to, at least give a go. Jumping Flash looked like a cool, goofy thing. Persona, I would like to see the start of that series. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, just to try that out. Wild Arms, because I think that's an RPG that's supposed to be interesting. But beyond that's about it.
And the way I'm looking at it is you're essentially paying $100 for 4 games.
Yeah. If it's not clear already, I'm a sucker for little kitschy things. So having a tiny PlayStation on my desk is, unfortunately, a selling point for me because I'm a weak person. But
and there's nothing wrong with that. I just was bringing up the...
No, my wife might not agree with you, but...
Well, I was just bringing up the
you're absolutely right. Like
consider how much you're paying into it versus how much you get out of it.
Oh yeah,
because that's the way I tend to quantify my purchases.
That's a very smart way of doing it.
If I'm spending $60 on a game, I need this minimum amount of time based on what I make out of the game, or I wasted my money.
Yeah. Yeah, and that and just kind of my gut feeling that I bet this feels like something that's going to be discounted in the relatively near future. But... Yeah,
I am inclined to agree with that. I think the pre-order was a good idea, but if you can cancel it at this point, I personally absolutely would.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's just a bummer because it's just, and it's also like there was a recent report that at least in the near future the N64 Classic is not on the horizon, which is bumming me out.
That is a shame.
Because this just got me thinking of what games they could put on that and how much fun that would be. The other thing the reviews have mentioned is that the games, like, they just didn't... It looks like they just didn't put much effort into giving you, like, video options or any sort of... So, like, the Super Nintendo and the NES Classic had fairly, rudimentary options, but you could go from 4:3 to pixel perfect to widescreen. You could add, a scan line effect if you wanted to. So there were, cool little things you could do to alter the looks of the games. It doesn't look like there's really any of that in the PlayStation version, which I know is not a super difficult thing to add because the emulator they're using is an open source emulator that has all these possibilities in it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just bumming me out. I'm bummed. It's like these early polygonal games don't look great. So they need all the help they can get, I think. But so yeah, we'll see if I'm smart enough to cancel that, or if not, then we'll be playing some stupid PlayStation games when I get it next week. Okay, I think we want to go to the D&D update if you're ready, Junkblade.
I am pretty much ready. I was just taking a look at the SNES Classic lineup again,
Okay.
and disappointed that a certain game was not included, but I can see why all of these other things were much higher priorities.
Which game?
Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Ah, okay. That's one I feel like that's almost like a cult status game, because I hear about it on like collecting threads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a rare, it's one of those maybe a slightly more rare games that's also like a good game. So one of those hidden gem type things, but I don't hear much about it in the overall discourse as much. But.
Speaking of like cult classics, if for when they do come out with an N64 classic, one that I'm expecting to not be on there is Conker's Bad Fur Day. Because my assumption is it's going to be like a Christmas deal, and they're going to be targeting it towards, the 8 to
you don't want to
range.
You don't want to have to put the M rating on there, probably, right?
Yeah,
that would be, and plus you can kind of get what that other than the humor. There's enough platformers on the N64 to
I was not impressed by it, personally.
No, I have not played it, but I don't think I would be either. Very much of its time in the 90s, I think.
Yeah. On to the D&D update.
Okay.
So, this past Saturday, things went slowly. It was hard getting everybody coordinated and into actually playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Took a while to find out whether one of our players would even be showing up. It was just kind of a disaster.
The Valen conundrum.
Although he at least responds to queries about where he's going to be some of the time.
Some of the time, yes. Okay, so now this is the campaign where they were fighting the army, right?
Yes, they are basically in the middle of the Siege of Helm's Deep, and there's just been a hole blown in the wall.
Okay.
And Gandalf is not coming to save them.
Oh, darn it. Are you sure?
I am sure.
Oh.
In this case, they'll do fine saving themselves.
Okay.
You've got like 4 more combats to go through before the siege is done. Mm-hmm. They've dealt with the first wave of enemies to get through the wall, and there's 2 more waves after that, like one other special encounter, and then they fight with the war leader.
Okay. Have any of them quoted from the 2 towers at you yet?
Disappointingly, no.
Oh, man. No Helm the Hammer, the horn of Helm Hammerhand will sound of the deep one last time? Nothing?
Nope.
Ride out with me? What can men do against such reckless hate?
Is this it? Is this all you can conjure, Saruman? This weekend, we are going to be playing in a campaign that a friend of mine came up with, and so I've been creating a character for that.
Okay. That'll probably be a little nice to get out of the DM role for a bit, right? A little break.
So he's the one who plays the half-red dragon fighter of Bahamut in my campaign.
Okay.
His campaign premise is magic in general, including the gods, have just been gone for like 300 years. Okay. And now they're all back at once. So if you're a normal human, you're already here, and your character knows their backstory and all this stuff. If you are anything other than a human, you basically get transported to the plane and are an amnesiac.
Oh.
So I am in the process of coming up with a background for this character. I've got two basic ideas in mind.
Mm-hmm.
One is she was just a relatively normal person before the event, despite the fact she's 16 feet tall and has wings. The other is that she was basically a tyrant, and losing her memory has allowed her to reform.
Oh. Oh, okay. So kind of what was that? Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna talk to my dungeon master this Friday, probably, about which background he'd prefer.
Okay. Is the party going to be a mix of like humans and
right
magic
now? We've
folk?
got a human cleric, an elf berserker, and me, who is playing a paladin.
Okay. Is this one that's going to go for like campaign that's going to go for a while, or is it more of a one shot kind of?
It's going to go for a while.
Okay.
Is my impression.
Okay. Cool.
But this person does have a little bit of trouble committing to things, so
okay.
no guarantees.
Gotcha. That's a cool idea, though.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Hopefully there's some interesting stuff to tell us after the first session or two, because that sounds very interesting.
He said it's going to begin this Saturday as soon as he shows up, regardless of who's there.
Okay.
And I'll be there because I start work at 10:30.
There you go. Oh man, cool. Okay. So is that'll take the place of the campaign you've been running? You think so? It might be a week or two before you get back to that, or is that a different?
I think it'll be not next Saturday, but the Saturday after when we get back to my campaign, because my other friend should be running his Japanese mythology Saturday after this Saturday.
Right. Okay. So this will be 3 campaigns, kind of keeping spinning at once.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Okay, that's probably about the most you can do. Would be at least reasonably, right?
I mean, if you're only doing one a week either way, it's not that unreasonable to have more going, but
more than that,
everyone does have to be interested and committed.
Yeah, that, and the further you get, like if it's a month and a half between a specific campaign session, that could get pretty difficult to keep the threads a bit, right? So, okay. Cool. God, we gotta do ours again, as I say every week, so we can check that box. We'll see. Hopefully Valen gets a little more settled.
Hopefully.
Out west here. Well, yeah, so I think, unless you've got anything else, I think we're ready to do our ask for questions and wait for 30 seconds.
We do have the Pokemon ideas to go over really quick.
Okay.
And for me, this is kind of difficult because they've already thought of something for most things I can think of. Like, they've already done multiple sea serpents, multiple dragons.
Yeah. But now we can you can do a dragon if you put a cool spin on it, right? So I don't want to limit people, because then otherwise we'll just be like, oh, it's a pencil. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't made a possum Pokemon.
Oh, like something that kind of plays dead, sort of?
I don't know specifically what I have in mind. It's just...
Okay. Yeah, I had...
Lots of people like possums, so...
Do they? I think they're terrifying.
I think they're adorable.
Oh, God, the sharp teeth and the rat tails and the freaky faces.
I mean, they've already got several rat Pokemon.
They do. Yeah, Raticate, I'm not a fan of. Big teeth. Hmm. Yeah, I really hadn't come up with any good ideas yet. Now I'm just looking at stuff on my desk. The dice Pokemon. You roll it, and that's what attack you get to do. So, a little luck aspect to it there.
Well, in that case, it would have to be a 4-sided die because you only get 4 moves.
Unless
It could also be an 8-sided die or a 12-sided die, as long as the number is divisible by 4.
Or 6 and one's like eats a berry. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or one's like runs away. Hang on, I'm actually enjoying this now. I'm gonna put a pin in dice Pokemon.
Okay.
It's only if you can come up with a name for it, I think it's fair game. That's the big selling point. I think is the name that we come up with the Pokemon. So if anyone is still watching, come up with any Pokemon ideas. Because we'll be. I don't want to for sure say when we'll get to that, because that's when we want the full crew.
Agreed.
But it's high up on the list when that does happen of our topics. But okay, so Junkblade, if you were able to get your hands on a Switch, what would be like the first game you'd get? Do you think?
Well, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remaster would be my answer if it were out yet.
Okay.
But
you're probably shooting to get it before then, based on current stuff, because that's spring, right? Next year.
Let me check real quick. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered. Release date. It is coming out in 2019 is the only actual release date we have.
Okay, that's even less helpful. Okay.
I would feel obligated to probably play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild first.
I probably could not recommend that highly. Much more highly, yes. Yeah, that one, Mario Odyssey, would be a definite. Octopath Traveler, I think you would probably enjoy quite a bit. Mega Man 11, assuming you haven't played it on something else.
I have not played 9. Oh, wait, no, I do have 11 on Steam. Or
Okay.
I've got a friend who has it on Steam. I haven't played 9 or 10 yet.
9 and 10 are actually cool, because they're kind of much more in the NES style. I wonder how you do with an RPG like Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Like what?
Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Hmm.
It's one of those. I played a little bit of it, but it's something where if you're gonna beat it, you got to put 80 to 100 hours into it. So.
I think I've got enough of those games as is.
Probably. Splatoon. I like Splatoon a lot.
Oh, Splatoon!
And
I should have thought of that almost immediately. I've got a friend who plays that all the time.
So I need people to play Splatoon with. So. Okay, but yeah, a lot of cool Switch games. Hopefully that works out. Doesn't seem like we've got any questions this week, which is fine. I guess I asked some questions, so. Yeah, I think then, until next time, Junkblade, it's been a pleasure discussing the very topical conversation topics we came up with today.
Indeed it is.
And until next time, everybody, peace out.
Have a good one, everyone.